Welcome to the official review presented by Athlon Sports. Last night was Game 7 of the NBA Finals, Thunder Pacers, and out of the gate, it looked like it was going to be an all-time classic. Thunder, Pacers trading haymakers back and forth, but with just 7 minutes into the game, Tyrese Haliburton tears his Achilles, absolutely took the energy out of the game. Thunder end up winning 103-91, but the main storyline from the game is the Haliburton injury, I would say. First off, do you think the Pacers win that game if Haliburton is healthy?
I think they definitely have a chance. I mean, it was looking kind of good, and they're making the shots that I think you need to make if you're going to upset a team. Like, Nembhard hit a big shot. Siakam was hitting random big threes. Haliburton came out hot right out the gate, and when he does that, he typically continues to do that. I saw some stat when he misses his first shot versus when he makes it. Like, the Pacers are just way better. So I do think the Pacers had a good chance to win that game. And the moment you saw Haliburton in the replay screaming, I did, like, you knew it wasn't just he was in pain. It was he knew that he was going to be out for that game. That was terrible.
Yeah, I think the Pacers definitely had a chance to win that game, but I will say it still would have been a really tough task for them to be able to pull it off just because the Thunder have been so dominant at home. I think the two home games that they've lost at home have been both like insane buzzer beaters from Haliburton and then Aaron Gordon in the second round. So it still was going to be a tough task. But yeah, part of the tragic part about Haliburton was like he was on a heater and was clearly feeling him. So he was like barking at the crowd before he went down. I mean, obviously they responded in the first half and were leading by 1 at half, but we're playing at a talent deficit at the entire game.
Would you have played in that game if you were Tyrese Haliburton, knowing you had a calf strain, which is what KD was diagnosed with before he tore his Achilles?
You have to play that game. It's Game 7. You don't know when you'll ever be back there. Pacers championship window might have just closed on itself while it was still open. Like, I don't think we've ever seen that before, where a championship window is closed after the game ends. Because who knows what this team will look like a year from now, when Haliburton can finally come back. But you got to play. It wasn't a bad decision. You have to play. And he was looking good. I mean, he hit 3 of 4 from 3, he had 9 points in 7 minutes.
And he won Game 6. Like, he was hurt
Exactly.
before Game 6, and he played well in that. So I agree, I think the bigger question was, would you have played in Game 6? He did. He was fine. 100% you play in Game 7. But, like, dude, injuries just are low-key one of the things killing the NBA. You just never know when a guy's going to pop his Achilles, tear his ACL.
People go back and forth on if calf strains directly lead to Achilles tears. Obviously, that happened to Kevin Durant. To your point, Steve, it does connect into a larger point about if the NBA season is too long, if they need to cut it down from 82 games to 70 games. I just can't see it happening because it's just going to hurt the bottom line. At least in the short term, the players just have so much wear on them by the time you get to Game 7 of the NBA Finals that stuff like this just happens, I guess.
What's different now? I mean, obviously the biggest differences are how players train, but players have been playing 82 games and playing playoff series. This is how the NBA has been. This is the third Achilles tear this playoffs from star players.
I have a theory. Look at the guys tearing their ACLs. It's guys who go on long playoff runs and also play international basketball in the summer. Tyrese Haliburton, Jason Tatum, both on Team USA, despite being benched, they were training. They basically did not have an offseason. So yeah, you can blame the 82 games, but it's not like these guys after those 82 games are just done playing. They're either playing very long in the playoffs, which is basically a half a season, or they're playing on Team USA basketball. So I think maybe that's something to look into. How many guys are tearing their Achilles that weren't on playing in the Olympics or, in the off season?
Obviously the guys play a ton of basketball and there's a ton of miles on their legs by the time they reach where they are. But I think the larger point is, like, if you look at tape from like the early 2000s or the 90s, most of the possessions are just like guys standing around and then, obviously there's a ton of more post ups, but just generally speaking, there's like less off-ball movement. There's less dynamic kind of guys running off screens and doing pick and rolls where, there's like multiple different actions in one possession. And I think that just all of this lends to more cutting and changing of direction and just more strain on ligaments, really. That's sort of why we're seeing this stuff, even with science around load management and injury prevention being so much ahead of where it was in the 90s. It's just like guys are just moving more.
It also appears to be like a best player injury too. Like it's like the guy who's running the offense is the one getting hurt. It's not like, a bunch of Andrew Nemhards are tearing their Achilles. It's like, it's the star players. It's the guys who have the most to do on the court. So whether or not they're the ones handling the ball and running the offense, like when they're not, like you said, like the NBA is a lot different now. Tatum's running off screens. He's running around. He's covering 5 positions. Haliburton's doing a bunch off the ball as well. Maybe there's just too much activity by these guys.
It's weird. It's a weird time in basketball because you've had so many recent playoff runs where the best team remaining is just so happens to be the team that's the healthiest. I mean, this Thunder team, going back to the champion, they managed to win without a significant injury in the playoffs. I mean, obviously Chet was out for most of the year this year, but he stayed healthy throughout the playoffs. SGA stayed healthy. They really didn't lose anyone. Is the finals now just about who can stay healthiest? I mean, you look last year with the Celtics, their path to the finals was riddled with injuries on the other end. Playing a Haliburton-less Pacers, playing a Donovan Mitchell-less Cavs.
Jimmy Butler-less
Heat. Is that the only thing that really matters in the NBA now, is staying healthy throughout the finals?
It kind of is, which is why you see all this load management. And like people kind of make fun of load management and like, oh, you can't get awards because of it. But then it's like the NBA championship is the number one thing you want. So like, how are you going to make an argument against load management? Just make less games. Like it doesn't hurt anybody but it hurts the bottom line, like Sam said. But as a fan, I wouldn't mind 12 less games. I'd be more interested in the games that happen.
Yeah, it just increases the importance of each game. And then that would stir more people to be watching more of the games. And, you might lose some of like the ticket prices stuff for those 12 games or whatever. But I feel like in the long run, it's just better for the health of the league, literally.
The group that gets screwed over the most in that scenario is the fans. If they lose 12 games of revenue, that ticket prices are going up. That concession prices are going up. That league pass is going up. All these prices are going to increase to try to match that revenue. So it's not necessarily what's in the best interest of the fans, really. The product itself on the court is going to be better, potentially, but the outcome for the fans in terms of financial outcome is going to be way worse.
Ticket prices are going up anyway. Concession prices are going up anyway. The league pass is going to go up anyway. Like, I feel like that stuff is already sort of built in. Fundamentally, what's worse is when you pay a bunch of money for a ticket and to go see like Steph Curry, who's coming into your town, and then he's getting sat for load management because the regular season is so devalued right now. And I feel like just from a fan perspective, you do want less games, even if you have to pay a little bit more.
Yeah, because if less game equals less load management, then there's a better chance when you go see a Warriors game or a Bucks game or a Lakers game that LeBron, Steph Curry, and Giannis are going to play. So the ticket value is actually better in like that sense.